were continuing to travel through the plains of Oklahoma, and an amazing story that I learned about at the gas station back there. They heard me talking to my agent about these videos where I spotlight a community, and the guy behind the counter said, "Dude, you got to talk about the Canute flute." I'm like, "What?" So there's a town called Canute in Oklahoma, Canute, and it's the original place where the Canute flute was invented. So let's go all the way back, because it took me a minute to understand what he was telling me. And I assume the guy's an expert. He had a Canute High School class of 1989 sweater on, and he had a hat, like a trucker's hat, that said Canute Band French Horn Cleaner 4 years. So I assume he's local. The story that he told me is kind of amazing. There was a guy named John J. Canute, who the town is named after, who was one of these guys that's into all kinds of things. He was a farmer, he was the mayor, he was the son of his father founded the town, and the town is named after his father, Gerald J. Canute. But John J. was sort of a frontier Renaissance man, like so many in those days, because partly they had to be. You had to be a horseman, a blacksmith, a carpenter, right? So you just knew all these trades and all these skills. Well, one of them was he could play the flute, and he was never really satisfied with the sound that he was able to get out of the flute. So he looked at his long rifle, he cut the barrel off a long rifle, fired up his blacksmith furnace there, and bent the barrel of a rifle into a Z-shaped flute. He made a flute out of the long rifle in a Z shape. Now it didn't have the exactly what you would consider today we would consider a flute sound necessarily. It was sort of a distorted sound, almost like if you put a distortion filter on a music production on your computer. If you know anything about musical production, computer music production, it was almost like a distortion filter. But it was the sound that he wanted, because he was a little bit quirky, a little bit of a character, and he wanted that odd sound coming from his flute, and he was only able to do it by creating his own Z-shaped flute. Now here's the funny part, or at least I don't know about funny, but so the Z flute was not only popular among musicians on the frontier in those days, but somebody figured out that you could still load bullets in the barrel, and by playing the flute part a certain way, you could get it to fire like a gun. And that's why so many standoffs, so many showdowns, so many duels, so many gunfight at the OK Corral style situations. If you think about the Clint Eastwood movies, right? They have that flute sound, that whistle sound. Well, that's very, very close to the Canute flute, although the Canute flute is a little more distorted. But part of that reason that sound is so associated with gunfights is that a number of gunslingers in Canute would carry a Canute flute as a backup weapon in case their 6-gun either didn't fire there was another malfunction, or their hand was injured by a flying bullet from their opponent. They could still take the Canute flute, play a tune, and get it to fire. Now, the legend has it that it would fire up to 6 shots, just like a 6-gun. And in fact, John Jay found himself in a little bit of a pickle one year when he was caught in the throes of romance with the guy, the husband. Let me restate that. That didn't come out quite right. He was caught in the throes of romance with the wife of the guy that lived on the farm next door. Although that other situation, that would have been quite the frontier controversy itself. But it turns out that John Jay had his eye traveling around. He had the wandering eye, and one thing led to another. And he was called out for a duel on the country road in front of their farms. He said, let's settle it right at high noon on the country road that borders both of our farms. So there they were, high noon struck, and they commenced to fire. Well, the jilted farmer, he got a shot off, and he hit John Jay Canute in the hand. John Jay's gun didn't fire at all. Now you might say, well, that's unusual, but it wasn't that uncommon, because the manufacturing methods of those days weren't quite up to the specifications they are today. So John Jay, he was at a loss. He grabbed his flute and started to play the hymn, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, on his flute, which is one of the songs that will make it fire. And sure enough, it started to fire in rapid succession, almost like an early version of a machine gun. And down goes Frazier, right? Down, he hit the guy in the chest, in the arm, in the neck, with a volley of bullets. And down goes Frazier. Out like a light, like a light. An unbelievable last-minute, last-ditch Hail Mary effort by John Jay Canute with his own Canute flute gun. And unfortunately, his rival failed the room temperature test, and it was over. It was all over for him. And today there's a marker on one of the country roads outside Canute where you can see where this battle took place. An amazing story, guys, and just another page in the fascinating book of Oklahoma. And we're going to have so many more stories on this great state, and other states and towns as well. So come on back and listen to another Joe Ditzel parody. Talk to you soon.